I had a 20-year sentence in New York State prisons. I was arrested at age 19, and standing in the courtroom at age 19 and getting a 20-year sentence, which was more time than I had been alive at the time, was really it was a real downer, to say the least. Right? I mean, I immediately thought my life was over. Like, I just could not see that far ahead, and so I was like, my life is messed up. What's the point? I'm really just gonna become a better criminal. Really, that's what my thought was in the beginning. And so I started getting a lot of advice from like older incarcerated people, negative advice on how to do things better and not get caught, that kind of stuff. And at the same time, though, I was still interested in learning just about anything in general. So I always liked education and wanted to be a smart person. But I still had that weight behind me, like so many years ahead of me. What possible future could I ever have? And so I figured, it didn't matter who I hung out with inside of prison. It didn't matter what my influences were. There was no real life for me in the future. And then one day, while I was challenging my own case, still going to trial for my own case, someone said, "Why don't you go to the law library and check some things out?" And at the time, I was like, "What's a law library?" I didn't even know it existed or that you could go there. And it was just a way to get off the gallery. So I started going. And the law library officer said, "Listen, I've seen you come down here for a couple of weeks. You seem like you have decent comprehension and can read and write." He's like, "You want to voluntarily help people, understand what they're reading here?" And I was like, "Sure, why not?" He gives me more access to the law library. So then I was down there 7 days a week, all day long, helping lots of people each day while learning, because I didn't know anything myself at the time. And so guys would come in every day with multiple questions, and I'd have to find the answers to these questions, these legal questions. And it was just like sink or swim kind of situation. You had to learn what was going on, how to help them, guide them in the right way. And so that was my introduction to the law, right? And as I got into that and started learning more about my own case and learning more about the law in general to help everyone else, I started to develop a passion for it. And I began to realize that I was good at it. So I won some post-conviction motions first, some resentencings, but it wasn't until I won my first direct appeal for somebody that I really got it in my mind that I was really good at this. I was great at spotting issues, putting together an argument, researching. And this is all coming from someone who only had a high school diploma, always in trouble as a teenager. And I taught myself the law, and I was actually good at this, right? And so this started to motivate me to want to become even better at it. So then I started reading law journals cover to cover and reading, every case I could get my hands on, like just for no reason other than fun. I just loved it so much. I ended up in Sing Sing Correctional Facility, and I was sitting in my cell one day reading a newspaper, and there was a big article on formerly incarcerated attorneys in New York State. And it gave examples from real attorneys who were actually living in New York and practicing for a long time, some of whom had some serious convictions. And so once I realized that, it planted a seed in my mind that maybe there was hope at the end of a long sentence, that I could still have a life and do something that I'm really passionate about. And the closer I got to release, the more and more studying I did, and the more and more motivation I had to follow up on this when I did get out. Because when you go through the system, you actually understand it from a totally different perspective from someone who has not gone through the system. And so you learn firsthand what are all the negative sides of it, how ineffective lawyers can be. Like I had a trial attorney who was assigned by the court and was still trying to get me to get money for him from my family, who said, "Listen, if you don't pay me this much, we can't go to trial, you have to take a plea." Like there's so many things, from police lying on the stand to judges just rubber stamping what the police say without even inquiring. Like there's so many things wrong with this system. And so in addition to wanting to just pursue law because it was a passion of mine, I also wanted to pursue it because it would be a way for me to fight to reform the system from the inside. But I wanted that extra like stamp of approval from the state, or this license to really burn everything down and build it back up again. And so I felt the law degree would actually do that. It would actually let me go into courts, make arguments in front of judges, and try to change policy, law, you name it. And so having all this in the back of my mind, plus having read that article about attorneys in New York State who had been formerly incarcerated, it really fueled my motivation to move forward. And now I'm a 1L. I started a little over a month ago. I mean, I was expecting a lot of work, right? Because other people I know, friends of mine who have gone to law school, graduated, have all told me the first year is the worst. Like, they give you so much work, it's like the professors are trying to make you quit. I didn't really believe it. I was like, you gotta be exaggerating. Like, it can't be that bad, right? But now that I'm in it, it really is that bad. It really is. Like, it's tons of work. But I'm pushing through it. I'm glad to have this opportunity, and I can't wait for it to be over so I can have my law degree and start practicing. But it's definitely a challenge, a worthy challenge, and I'm glad that I'm going through it right now. My main message really is just that law school is still possible, even after you serve a very long time in prison. You can still be an attorney, still contribute to positive change in society and the world, really.